All right, so basically what we're going to do at this point, we are going to put the groove in the part for the thread clearance. So we have our thread clearance right here, and so if we're going to be doing this groove and then going right to doing the threading, the best idea is let's go ahead and get everything set up for that. So let's start here. We're going to start with taking our compound and actually getting it to the angle appropriate for doing the threading. So we're going to turn this around and we're going to start at 0. 0 is going to be here, okay? And so from 0, what we need to do is move 29 degrees to the right. And what I mean by the right is if this is 0, my right hand is over here towards the back end of the lathe, and I'm going to move it this way. Now, there's marks on the side here and also underneath. Whatever they're at, you just need to be moving at 29 degrees from that point. So this one over here says 0, this one down here says 90. So this one I'm going to watch, that's 0, and it goes until 29 degrees. At 29 degrees, I'm going to go ahead and snug this back up. Okay, 29 degrees specifically comes from the fact that it's very close to 30. Remember that, since it's close to 30, 30 is half of the standard thread form of 60-degree included angle for a thread. And so the reason that you do that is you're feeding along the thread there. That way you're loading one side of the tool the whole time. By loading that one side of the tool, it doesn't allow for any chatter. And the 29 degrees is you're going just a hair less, so you are cutting on the back side so that you don't get an odd thread form. So 29 degrees is the standard for that, suffice it to say. And now what we're going to do, while I'm talking, I'm going to bring this up and we're going to do our standard setup. We've already done this a bunch of times before, and so I'm going to try to make it quick. Set this down here. We're going to run this up again. We're not going to jam this into our part or our spindle here. Rather, we just want to bring it up close and we want to use it to line this up. So I got that pushed up against there nice and snug. I'm going to be gentle with this, watching to make sure I don't move it. And this is going to be instrumental in making sure that our thread form is correct, because this is holding the tool, the modular tool that we're going to be using, in the appropriate orientation. Okay, so now that I have this nice and straight, I can go ahead and start setting up my tools. So I'm going to set up my threading tool, which is going to be this tool right here. Notice it's going to have a 60-degree included angle. We're going to set this one up. And again, essentially, we're going to bring this over and then set our height. And that's cracking this loose, making our adjustments, making sure that our tool tip is the appropriate height there. And while we're at it, we're going to go ahead and also set this up as well. Make sure that this grooving tool is where it needs to be. We got our height offset correctly right there. And after we get done adjusting this height, we're going to roll over before we bring our tailstock up, okay? And we're going to very gently, because we don't want to flex or bend this tool, okay? We're going to make sure that this comes right up to 0 here, all right? So we have it right up to 0, and then what we can do is go Z0, and now we have our Z set in here. Now we're going to back this out, okay, from where we're at right here, and we are going to set this tool off to the side, go ahead and grab our threading tool. All right, bring it in and then set our threading tool off of our part. This gives us our elbow room to make sure that our tailstock is not going to interfere with the actual tool. Now the reason that I want to do it like this is because I want that spindle sticking out only as much as it absolutely has to. I don't want it sticking out any farther. This lends itself to make sure that everything is nice and rigid. So I'm going to tighten this up and then I'm going to bring this up and snug it and then lock that down. And now that I have my room, I can go ahead and set my threading tool off to the side and I can bring my grooving tool back in. Okay, so now that I have the threading tool and the grooving tool all set up and I even have my 0 here, now I can take the next step. The next step is going to be to go ahead and put the groove in. Now, one of the things that I haven't done yet is I haven't checked this. We want to take a look at our print, and our print is saying that we have a groove that's 1 inch from the end here. Now, if I touch my tool off over here and I move over 1 inch, I'm actually going to machine in the wrong spot. So I need to add in my width of the parting tool on the end of that. So that means I got to measure it. So I'm going to take my micrometers and I'm going to take a measurement on this. Now, when I do this measurement, I want to make sure of something. I want to make sure, first of all, everything is nice and clean. Secondly, I want to make sure that I'm taking the measurement up where the cutting is happening. As it goes down the tool, and most parting and grooving tools, what happens is it gets smaller, and that allows for clearance. And again, these things are not, they're standard, but they're not perfectly standard. Like this is 127 thousandths. So what does that mean? That means I'm going to roll over on my DRO. You can't see it up here, but 120 thousandths, or 127 thousandths, pardon me, is what I'm going to take it to. And then at 127 thousandths, I'm going to zero it out. Enter. And then I can simply roll over to my 1 inch, because now my parting tool, instead of being zeroed here, my parting tool is zeroed here, and when I move over, I'm going to be in the right spot. So with that, I'm going to roll over to my 1 inch. I'm looking off to my left here at the DRO. I'd like to get everything in the shot, but I also want to make sure that you see the most detail of all first when we down here where the action's actually happening. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is now that my parting tool is in the appropriate location, I'm going to do one other measurement. I'm going to break out my micrometers again, and right where my tool actually is, I'm going to take a diameter measurement. Okay, and so it looks like I have 4976. Take that again. I'm going to be comfortable with 4976. So what I'm going to do is keep that number in my head, and I'm going to roll up here, and I'm going to turn this on, and I'm going to bring it up really, really, really slow, just until I hear or see contact. All right, I see a discoloration in my part there. It tells me that I'm right there. So I'm going to select X, and then I'm simply going to type in the 0.4976 that I just got done measuring, and I'm going to hit enter. And now my X, okay, is correct for this particular tool. So that's all good. And now, since I know that my machine is typed there and my tool is sitting right at that diameter, I'll be able to drive it right into this 0.400. Okay, so let's do that right now. I'm going to go ahead and lube this thing up, and I'm going to do it in a reasonably swift, consistent motion, and I'm going to drive right to that X value that's up here that you can't see. As always, as soon as we're done here, and just make sure that there's no chips on there. Can't really wipe them out very easily. But right there, I was able to achieve what I was looking for, and it might be just maybe a thou over, if that. I'm kind of reading at an angle here so you guys can see, but it looks like I'm 0.4 right on the money, and then I can always take a measurement right here, and I am 1 inch on the money. So I've done my job right, and we got the groove in here. And also, the mechanics here are all actually set up to do the threading, and we're going to do that next.